I, 23 male, was repeatedly stuck playing the helper and babysitter on family outings. I had to move out of my parents' house because I kept being forced to help watch my 3 nephews. Last year we took a family vacation in the summer to the coast. I rode with my parents, who paid for my hotel room, only I had to share that room with 3 rowdy boys because my sister and her husband wanted a room for themselves. I was promised time to do my own things on the vacation, but instead I ended up having to help with these kids. I complained to everyone about it and was reminded that I was there for free, and then we did only one thing I wanted to do, which was a tour of an art gallery. I like doing this whenever I'm at the coast, but the kids find it boring. This year my parents have a beach trip planned for June, and they assumed I'd be riding along the same way as last year, but I refused. I said I'd drive myself and pay for my hotel stay to have my own room. My parents were shocked and tried to remind me of the cost. I said it was no worry. I've got a good job and a decent running car. I can more than afford it. That's when the buts started. I stated the previously listed reasons why I'll drive myself and pay for myself. I want to enjoy this vacation as an adult and not be treated like a child like last year. My parents told my sister, who called to blow up at me, that I'll be ruining the vacation if I was off doing my own thing while she had to wrangle her 3 boys. I ended up yelling at her that last year all she did was rope me into her mess. I didn't really get to do much of anything I wanted to do, and I was treated like the bad guy for wanting to go to an art gallery. I'm a grown man. I deserve my own vacation too. Now my sister isn't speaking to me, and my parents are still trying to convince me to ride with them to keep the peace. I'm still refusing, but the pressure is getting to me. Am I the idiot for not giving in? They'll all have a pretty hard time when they won't have another person there to help. Sister called to blow up at me that I'll be ruining the vacation if she has to wrangle her 3 boys. That's a laugh. She's admitting she's ruining your vacation so as not to ruin her own. They're her kids and her responsibility. Not the idiot. In fact, you're nicer than I would be. I'd just say, no thanks, I've got other plans, and avoid the family vacation altogether. Yes, how dare you ruin my vacation when I should be ruining yours? You know, there's a good solution for this. The parents could pay for the nanny with the money they save from not paying for OP. Oh wait, that's not a lot of money. Guess you really didn't value your brother's son's contributions. LMFAO. Yeah, that's not what I'm getting. Last year they told me he was there for free, but what did it cost them to bring him along? He rode in a car already going to the same destination, so they had no travel expenses to cover. There was a 3rd hotel room, but they would have needed either a 3rd room for the kids or a suite for the sister's family. Lodging expenses were also minimal to non-existent. Doesn't sound like anybody covered his food or activities. He was on that vacation for free because it cost them nothing to bring him along. Correct. The cost of the free childcare OP is providing likely far exceeds the few $100s they spent on OP. Honestly, what are you getting out of these family vacations? Just do your own thing and avoid the hassle and stress and pressure to babysit. Do not give in. It's time to stand your ground. This internet stranger is proud of you. I'll, 48 male, start by saying my son Peter, 25, has a big heart. He always has. It's gotten him into trouble quite a few times. A little over a year ago he met June, 23. She was 12 weeks pregnant at the time, father nowhere in sight. Peter and June moved really fast. She was living with him just 4 months later. He told me that he was there to help her with the baby, which I was on the fence about as they'd just met, but I also figured it wasn't my business and it was honourable of him to want to help his girlfriend with her baby. June had a baby girl, Cadence, a few months later. Peter has been heavily involved in her life. Recently he proposed to June. We went to their place to celebrate the big news. That's when my wife asked if Peter had plans to adopt Cadence. June and Peter avoided the subject and my wife let it drop, figuring it may be tricky, especially if Cadence's bio-dad didn't want to relinquish rights. Later on, after Cadence was put to bed, June and Peter admitted that he wouldn't have to adopt Cadence as he's on the birth certificate. I asked, wasn't that fraud? He said after speaking to a lawyer, there were no legal repercussions even if it made it to court. Their reasoning for doing this is Peter will have an equal say in Cadence's life. If, for whatever reason, they broke up, he'd get custody. I instantly thought he'd be on the hook for child support, but I stayed quiet. My wife asked if they planned on telling Cadence the truth, and they said yes, it won't be a secret. The bio-dad is also aware and doesn't care, as he has no desire to be a dad. I don't think June is trying to get money out of him. She actually comes from a wealthier family and works for her dad's company. I genuinely believe they just love each other, but to me this is a recipe for disaster. I tried to let it go, then Peter stopped by the house for something and we talked about Cadence. Peter called her his daughter, and I said I was glad he loved her, but his signing the birth certificate was a huge mistake. I pointed out all the things that could go wrong. He said he doesn't care and wants to do right by his girls. He called me unsupportive and told me to get on board or I won't get to be in my granddaughter's life. I love my granddaughter, blood doesn't matter, she's family, but I still think this is a mistake. Am I the idiot for voicing that? You are the idiot. So you're okay with him adopting her, thus having the birth certificate changed then, but not from the jump when he's been in her life from pre-birth? None of that makes sense. He's going to still be on the hook for child support if he adopts her. You need to realise this is his family, not some money-making scheme. This is immediately what came to my mind too. Doesn't matter if he signs the birth certificate right away or adopts it later. The potential for having to pay child support down the road would still be the same. OP, now that you've said your piece and he's heard you, you need to drop it. You will be an idiot if you don't get on board. Your son is an adult. He's made an adult decision. If there are any consequences, he will deal with them, and he doesn't need you nagging him about negative hypotheticals as he's trying to start his family. It will only drive a wedge between you and him. Not the idiot. They barely knew each other and got married really quickly. This is an objectively stupid thing to do. You have a legit concern. Your son doesn't quite understand the full picture. He's doing something he feels is right and it's a great gesture, not really understanding the full legal repercussions. Yeah, I'm kind of getting the son is being used vibes. What stable, together mother has someone sign her kid's birth certificate that she's known for 6 months, thus tethering them all together indefinitely? That's a desperation or con move, not an I'm genuinely in love move. Good luck to them all. Oh God, she doesn't want her family to know who the father is. She's letting them think it's OP's son. I bet that's it. If your son can't deal with you voicing a fairly reasonable thought and concern about his life without threatening to cut you off, he shouldn't be signing up to be a dad of a kid who isn't actually his. Clearly way too immature. My significant other and I are dating and have lived together for less than a year. Our current rent is about $2,000 a month and various utilities run about $700 a month. I make about 4 times my SO, so I pay all the rent while they pay the utilities. We also shop for our furniture together and paid equal amounts. We didn't go all out and stayed within a reasonable budget. For example, our couch costs $500 and my significant other easily paid $250 and I paid $250. We're happy with the situation and there have been no complaints. I've been offered a new job in a new state and we agreed to move for my job since it'll be a great stepping stone for my career and I'll be making much more, about 6 times more than my SO. Also, my SO works at a job easily available in the new state. Furthermore, my SO is excited to move because the new state has more opportunities and things for us to do for fun. The problem is that my SO has been looking at places that cost between $8,000 to $10,000 a month, while I'm only comfortable with paying up to $4,000 a month. My SO argues that I have to look the part of my new position and the more expensive places are in better parts of the city with less crime. While that is a valid argument, I contend that we don't have to live in the city and I'm willing to commute. In addition, my SO has been looking at furniture and appliances that are far beyond what we currently have. We're not bringing anything but clothes and some items. For example, I'm perfectly happy with a $500 couch, but they're looking at one that costs $3,000. We went back and forth until I had enough and said that I was only paying $4,000 a month and we were buying reasonable furniture and other household stuff. They'll have to pay the difference if they want to live in a luxury building or have designer stuff. My SO was hurt by this and accused me of being financially abusive and rubbing my better earnings in their face. They've gone to their friends and family and literally everyone is against me. I thought I was right, but now that I'm the only one who thinks that I'm right, I'm not so sure. This is literally the exact opposite of financial abuse. It's called fiscal responsibility. Tell me you're a gold digger without telling me you're a gold digger. Look the part? What the heck? Not the idiot, OP. You might need someone more aligned with your lifestyle. I bet your family was told the story in different words. SO probably told them OP wants me to pay $6,000 a month when they only pay $4,000 a month. From the outside, that sounds like you are the idiot, but the context is missing. The context is that you can get a reasonable place for $4,000 a month, and SO wants the luxury. Holy moly, $8,000 to $10,000 a month? Are you shopping for penthouse suites? Mansions? SO needs to pump the brakes on lifestyle creep. And I merely live in a top 10 city, so the bigger, brighter spots might be different. Still, even $4,000 a month is you should be buying, not renting territory in most places in the US. Something to consider, OP. I think you should move to the new state alone. Please reconsider this relationship. Your partner's primary interest seems to be your paycheck. When you don't spend it on the luxuries they want, they go to their friends and family to pile on you for being financially abusive. No, you are being financially responsible. They are being greedy and manipulative. Move solo and enjoy your new start. I, 29 male, will soon marry my fiancée, 29 female. She's Korean and originally came to my current country as a student. I grew up in Korea, but my family moved here when I was 15. We met in school and both did similar degrees which shared a lot of courses. So I decided to make a wedding invitation website and put a lot of extra effort into making it special. I'm a front-end web dev these days, so I wanted to make something nice. Since I was the one who proposed, I wrote a small story about how we met and key events in our relationship and wanted to write it in a humorous way. This was for a Korean audience since most of our family is Korean. Also, our wedding will be held in Korea, so the form of humor is a little self-deprecating. The story talks about things that Korean elders value, like education, etc. A very small part of the story, like less than 15%, poked fun in a light-hearted way about how I stayed with her despite her bad driving, and how I didn't leave and was loyal enough, even though she took longer to graduate due to withdrawing from courses and failing some classes. I also wrote stuff about myself, like how I liked her but it took me months to ask her out, and how I'd already prepared myself to cope with rejection and thought she was out of my league. Also how without her I'd never be able to cook anything besides instant ramen, etc. She was supposed to see the website as a surprise, and I sent out emails with the link, and there was a copy of invitation cards and the story attached to the email. When my fiancée saw it though, she got upset and said I shouldn't have put the part about her driving and taking longer to graduate. I thought it wasn't such a big deal, though I agreed to remove it from the website, although the original version was already sent in the email. Her family obviously knows she took longer to graduate, and she pokes fun about it herself sometimes, like how lucky she feels to get her current job despite that, etc. However, she hasn't done badly at school overall or anything, and it's not like she struggled to graduate, she was just one semester behind. Her parents agree with me and think she's overreacting and that it's not such a big deal, and most of the family is on my side except for my sister and one of her sisters. Am I the idiot here? I put in a lot of effort to write it, and I felt it was well done for a Korean audience, and it's not like I wrote it exclusively to make fun of her. You are the idiot. Why would you send a story highlighting that it took her longer to graduate, particularly to an East Asian audience? Even in Western culture where education is taken less seriously, you'd be the idiot. It feels like a weirdly strange power move, and you contextualized yourself in your story as you still stayed with her. Despite it, I'm reasonably certain it was. Also, many Koreans see studying abroad as a failed move for those who didn't do well enough to get into the right university at home. If these guys met at Harvard, then all good, nice flex, but she's probably got some sneering about that going on in the background even without the fail, haha. And yeah, no Korean aunt has ever not enjoyed having ammunition to use on younger family members who can't talk back to them. Dude, your cultural background is irrelevant. In all cultures, if you do something that hurts the person you love, your romantic partner, and you choose not to apologize and instead double down that their hurt is an overreaction, then you're the idiot. My daughter met this girl 4 years ago at a marathon where they both did exceptionally well, and a friendship blossomed. They have a lot in common. They both like music, running and working out, art, TV shows, etc. And they're both at the same university, albeit doing different courses. My daughter visited me, us, wife and her brother, and she basically let a lot of stuff out about her relationship with this girl recently. She talked about how she feels like their friendship will never be close-knit like she wants. She spoke about how she feels her friend is way closer to her childhood friends, and how she feels jealous seeing pictures on social media of them on nights out and partying. She feels like her friend is talking to her less and less, both in person and on social media, and not making time for her. She talks about how she's gone back through her old social media and feels jealous seeing the old photos of her friendship with her childhood friends. Finally, she said that the straw that broke the camel's back for her was that on her birthday 2 weeks ago, her friend didn't wish her a happy birthday. She said she tried to visit her friend at her accommodation, but there was no answer. She mentioned how she felt betrayed by how she made a big presentation for her friend's birthday earlier this year. She was really emotional throughout this telling. My wife, her mom, obviously was trying to console her and kept telling her to keep working on it. I, however, had a different stance. I told her that she would never be on the same level as her friend's childhood friends. They've been friends since childhood, gone through school and all those trials together, and know each other inside out. I told my daughter that she has to accept this when maintaining her friendship with this girl. I advised her to try to look back at her friendship with her friends over the years, work on consolidating connections with them, and that there is nothing wrong with being less emotionally invested in this friend. On top of all this, one other important detail, I didn't say this to her, her friend is 20 and she's 25. To put that age difference into perspective, she was born in the 1990s, last millennia, while her friend was born in 2003. Their childhood experiences are broadly similar, but that difference is difficult to ignore. My daughter didn't react well to my advice. She said that I was telling her to settle for less and I'm putting her down. And she said that she feels a big connection with her friend, which I had no real answer to. We argued, I told her to grow up, and she left. How she's acting is incredibly childish. However, I feel empathetic for her as the last few years have been difficult for her socially and her social skills have really declined. On top of that, having met her friend personally, I know she's a really lovely, warm, friendly and sweet girl, and I can see why my daughter feels close to her. Not the idiot. Your daughter isn't reading the room properly. She's acting like a kid with a one-sided crush. This other person doesn't owe her a close friendship or a spot amongst her tier 1 friends. She's coming on pretty strong. The friend seems to be pulling back. She's 25 and needs more social awareness. Wait, so they became friends when your daughter was 21 and the other girl was 16? Your daughter got weirdly obsessed with a kid. No wonder the girl's uncomfortable. There are bigger issues here than the childhood friends thing. Wow, I hadn't done the math. That doesn't sit well now. I'm betting that now the other woman is 21, she realised how off it is that a 21-year-old would try to become such close friends with a 16-year-old. Those are completely different points of development. As a teen, I'm sure she felt flattered and perhaps sophisticated, thinking this older, cooler woman thought she was a peer. If someone I was trying to distance myself from showed up at my door on their birthday, I would probably never talk to them again. That said, it would be good for you to address the actual issues of the relationship. Becoming friends later in life does not exclude an incredibly close relationship. She needs and deserves to understand that this is not the issue at hand, but an unhealthy, one-sided, pushy dynamic at play. Good luck sorting this one out.